DNA test proves that I am Elena's father. I will fight for my
This
full
is my
custody
child,
rights.
and I will fight you for custody.
There's no way he is getting my daughter.
No, this is our child, not yours, and I will fight you for full custody.
He opens the door in a pair of boxers and tells me, your wife ain't here. And Your Honor, I looked straight into the apartment when he opened the door, and there laid her red lace panties that I bought and paid for.
From the first results, you know,
So
but
you mean tough love is like punishing you?
you don't just come off showing tough love to a child.
Ms. Graves says this is why her marriage is in a turmoil.
I've been dealing with him for 22 years now. When we got together this last time, I feel like he kind of punishing me and my daughter. You know,
punishing you how?
Like the way he treats us. You know, I mean, he's not the man that he should be for the family.
Mr. Baker counters Ms. Graves' testimony and reveals some surprising statements.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was hurt from the first results, you know.
So you mean tough love is like punishing you?
You don't just come off showing tough love to a child
But if that's
that
all
you really
I know,
don't know anything
that's all
about.
I know, Ms. Graves. I never had a father. I really don't know how to love, you understand?
Ms. Graves keeps dropping more devastating news surrounding her marriage and life with Mr. Baker. And this is why Mr. Baker has doubts.
What are your doubts, specifically as it
Like I
relates
say,
to her?
it's not just me, it's two other guys, you know? And the timing, yeah, you might say that we were here and there, but at the same time, the timing, it could match up and it could not match up.
The two other men, how did you find out about these
I mean,
two
she
other
told
men?
me about them. Ms. Graves told me about
What
it.
did she tell you?
She said that it could be a possibility that two other guys that she's involved with could be the father of Miss Curl.
But Ms. Graves disputes it with this testimony and exhibit.
We ended up hooking up, you know, so I was still dealing with him because he was my baby's father from the previous child. I have evidence here.
I'd like to see that evidence. What is that specifically, ma'am?
It's the conception date.
The window of conception.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put in her birth date, July 28th, 1995, and you press calculate,
yes, ma'am,
it gave you dates of conception of October 31st through November 8th, 1994, meaning that was during the time of Halloween,
yes, ma'am,
where you were intimate with Mr. Baker.
I was honest. I didn't just tell him. I told the other guys too. I've always been honest about it. Don't make it better,
intimate
but
with the other men during this window,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
8 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Carroll, the daughter whose paternity is in question, breaks down as she tells the court how things have been for her.
Venetia, I have to ask you, and you take your time, baby. I know this is very difficult. Do you believe in your heart Mr. Baker is your biological father?
I don't really know how to answer that because it's very confusing.
I understand.
Hearing that I look like his family, hearing that I look like someone else's family, I don't know. I just want to know.
And finally, the DNA test result reveals.
In the case of Graves, Carroll versus Baker, when it comes to 19-year-old Venetia Carroll, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Baker, you are not her father.
You're my daughter no matter what. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ms. Forrest shares how she got entangled with Mr. Webb, who also shares his testimony with the court.
My husband got in some trouble, and I ended up meeting Mr. Webb through one of my friends. We hit it off, and then I ended up leaving Mr. Forrest for Mr. Webb.
So you began a sexual relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and were you using protection at the time?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Webb reveals this heartbreaking situation he experienced at the time Mrs. Forrest split with him and what went down then.
It didn't happen like that at first. Yes, we was in love, but towards the end, I was on life support.
No, that's not how it happened.
As soon as I got out the hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. I heard it from my aunt first, but on my way to Illinois with my dad, she had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
Mrs. Forrest explains the discrepancy in the conception date and why she's certain the child is her husband's, Mr. Forrest.
My daughter was born on May 9th of 2013.
Okay.
And then you take it back 9 months later. That takes it to the week of August 26th through August 31st.
August 26th through August 31st, you were sleeping with your...
Just my husband.
The thing about it, Your Honor, is the day that before I went on to life support, we did have sex.
Well, that was the question I was about to ask. What day did you go into the
I
hospital?
went into the hospital on August 26, 2012.
So you saying August 25th, you all were intimate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Ms.
Yes,
Forrest?
Your Honor.
The case then reaches this phase, with these confessions from all parties.
Why wasn't he there for her?
The reason I have not been there, Your Honor, I had got an email on Facebook from my aunt that Miss Forrest had Elena.
So you got news that the baby was born. You didn't hear from Miss Forrest herself.
No, Your Honor, not at first.
You heard through your family.
Yes, Your Honor.
I messaged his mother on Facebook and told her what hospital I was going to be at, where I was going to be, when I was going to the hospital and everything. Him or his family, nobody showed up.
So question, you messaged him
I messaged his
on
mother.
Facebook, his family, to let them know, but why do that if you know for certain that Mr. Forrest, your husband, is the child's father?
Just in case that he did come back being the father, he could say that.
He wasn't there for the birth. I took care of her since the day she was born. Well, a month after she was born. He ain't took care of her.
Mr. Webb narrates all he has gone through to meet his supposed daughter.
Were you given an opportunity to see
No, Your Honor.
baby Elena after she was born?
I have not met Elena. We have set up dates plenty of times.
They have all been under his terms where he wanted to go.
I have drove from Illinois whenever she told me that I could meet Elena. I spent the last $80 I had to put in gas.
So-
She had backed out, changed her phone number, and blocked me on Facebook. 3 weeks later,
And that's like
I
every
moved
number
back
I
to
get from you,
Tennessee
it's always
and tried
changed.
to contact her to meet Elena, and she would not contact me back. That is why
And
we
so,
are here today.
Elena is 2 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have still not held this baby?
No, Your Honor.
And here comes the unexpected impending custody battle, which both Mr. Webb and Mr. Forrest promised would occur, depending on the DNA test result of this case.
I will fight for my
This
full
is my
custody
child,
rights.
and I will fight you for custody.
There's no way he is getting my daughter.
No, this is our child, not yours, and I will fight you for full custody.
And both men express their feelings regarding the case.
I mean, look at her. Look at me and my daughter. She is happy. She looks just like me. She takes after me and everything.
Mr. Webb, I see you are in a lot of pain. It hurts you to see her.
Yes, Your Honor.
And why does it hurt you? What do you feel? You just feel like you've missed out on 2 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
And until the DNA comes back showing that he is the father, he will not see her. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel.
So is this Miss Forrest's idea or yours?
This is mine.
That's what I thought.
The paternity test result then reveals
As to whether her biological father is Mr. Webb or Mr. Forrest, it has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Webb.
Mr. Wynn says this is what led to this paternity doubt.
You say that after your wife's reckless affair and lies, she became pregnant and tried to pass Daniel off as your son.
Yes,
you
Your
are
Honor.
here today to prove once and for all that you are not the father. You say that you're tired of your ex-wife's lies.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's more.
One day when I'd come home, she wasn't home. My daughter was in her playpen by herself in our apartment. And I went and knocked on the door of this gentleman, and he opens the door in a pair of boxers and tells me, "Your wife ain't here." And Your Honor, I looked straight into the apartment when he opened the door, and there laid her red lace panties that I bought and paid for
Oh, in his house?
in his apartment right at his foot of his bed.
So, Miss Tant, how soon after this night with the sheet did you find out you were pregnant?
6 weeks. I was 3 weeks pregnant when I found out 6 weeks later.
So, Mr. Wynn, when did you find out about the pregnancy?
Not till after the boy was 2 years old, she contacts me and tells me, We have a son.
Daniel, whose paternity is in question, tells the court how long he's known about the paternity doubts.
When did you become aware of all of this?
Since I was, from the earliest memory, every argument they've ever had always turns into this right here.
And so it would be, really, I want to understand this. Explain to the court. It would just start off as an average.
It would just start out as an average, you know, you didn't do this or you didn't do that, and then it would just blow up very, very fast and very, very quickly, and then it just turned into, well, is he mine? Is he not mine? Is it, and it just would keep going and going from there.
Mr. Wynn presents an exhibit to support his claims.
My name stops with me. Which, Your
And
Honor,
is that why you
back-
brought this exhibit today?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear from you. Please step over to your exhibit and explain what you've brought to court.
As you'll notice, Your Honor, this says Elaine Denise Wynn, her birth certificate, my daughter. It says father's name, Alan Ray Wynn.
You chose to give her his last name.
Yes.
Okay, and if y'all notice right here on this one, it says Daniel Joshua Whittle. Whittle's not my last name, it's her last name. So I've been ripped from my name carrying on the love to show in my family that this is my son stops with me. It doesn't carry on. If you'll notice on father's birthplace, it has nothing. Father's name, it has nothing.
At the end of it all the DNA test result reveals.
In the case of Tant versus Wynn, when it comes to 26-year-old Daniel Whittle, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Wynn, you are not the father.
Ms. Shomo justifies her infidelity with this.
I was going through some difficulty, feeling unwanted by my husband, Mr. Kleckler, and I felt Mr. Freeman was giving me more attention than my husband was. I mean, we've been together for 10 years. His friends was more important at the time, and he just wanted to run around and not be a family man.
Mr. Kleckler says he knew nothing about the affair.
Did you know about your wife's affair?
No, Your Honor, I did not know about the affair.
Nothing about it?
No, Your Honor. She was out late at night, 12, 1 o'clock with the kids. We already got 3 previous children, Your Honor. And I told her she been doing this, like I said, for a while. I'm not gonna put up with this, so I packed my stuff and I left.
Your Honor, this would have never came down to this if he didn't cheat on me with his best friend's aunt.
It wasn't until she left me that I didn't, I found out he could be somebody else's.
So it wasn't until that time?
No, not even whenever, they're cleaning him up and they're saying skin color and she's native.
Right.
All of our family, there's at least one dark person in the family.
Absolutely.
So
Your Honor, I have Mississippi Choctaw in my family too, and their skin is dark and they have curly hair.
Finally, the paternity test result shows.
It has been determined that the biological father is Mr. Freeman.